What is up, YouTube? Welcome to PanFro Games, and the Game Freak Leak Part 2 just occurred. We now know the next 5 years of what's happening with Pokemon, and this is honestly insane, and we're going to dive through every little piece of information. Of course, guys, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe and support my work by becoming a channel member, and let's dive in. To begin, we have an overview of what's happening for the next 5 years with Pokemon. Mega's Dimension DLC is either releasing late 2025 or early 2026. Pokemon Wind and Wave, which is Generation 10, codename Gaia, is releasing in 2026. 2027, we'll be getting Gaia DLC. 2027 to 2028, codename Ringo, which is Pokemon Legends Galar. That is the third Legends game. And then in 2028 to 2029, codename Seed, which is apparently an online multiplayer multi-region game that is going to be featuring Kanto, Johto, Hoenn, Sinnoh, and Kitakami. And then in 2030, we are going to be getting Generation 11. So that is a ton of Pokemon news and information right there with so many different types of games. And I just cannot believe that we might be living in the best possible era of Pokemon. But I just can't believe all of this has leaked. Now we're going to begin with Generation 10. There's actually not pretty much any information about Mega's Dimensions DLC for Legends ZA. I talked about it in a previous video that released the other day, so check that out. We know the new Megas, but we don't know anything else about that DLC. We do know a lot about Generation 10, codename Gaia. So, one, let's talk about the projects that is going on. We have a timeline of the projects. This also leaked. This is from the Tera leak, so we can just see that not only are we getting Gen 10 Legends Galar, a multi-region game, which is apparently like an MMO, but the Pokopia, which is the Animal Crossing game, is also getting a DLC. And Pokemon Champions was supposed to come out this year, but it was actually delayed till 2026. So there has been a lot of issues with the Pokemon timeline in terms of games coming out in that pipeline. So you can see these dates. This information is on the older side. Now, while I was recording this video, it seems we just got the logos for Pokemon Wind and Wave just leaked onto 4chan here. So it looks to be like a reddish and a blue color, the wind being red here. Looks to be the logo. We should be seeing this at the 30th anniversary Pokemon Presents on Pokemon Day, which is February 27th, 2026. And Gen 10, the names, the code names, we don't know the full names, but Wind and Waves, the theme is Infinity, and this is an Omori game. Now, to explain more about the Infinity theme, they are going to generate brand new islands. So the region is technically infinite and changes. Now, think about Minecraft. The islands in this game are going to be generated like how Minecraft generates a whole world, apparently. Now, once again, this is old information. We don't know what made the cut. We haven't seen the actual game yet, but this is what is in the files that was at Game Freak. So apparently it was a generated game. Not everyone would have the same exact game, essentially. And apparently every Pokemon can be ridden or touched in this game, in the sense that if the Pokemon is big enough, you can use it as a ride Pokemon. Touched means interactable. So like Pikachu, you could interact with Pikachu, it will have like a special animation or something like that, which does make sense. But this was from a planning document in 2020. This game's coming out in 2026. A lot can happen in 6 years for sure. Now we have some features for Generation 10. Gym Adventure, essentially gym battles, but different. A little bit different than your standard gym battles. Weather Move Acquisition Quest. Ride Licensing Quest, MMO Raid Battle. So raids are back for Gen 10, which is great. Pokemon Rescue, Boss Pokemon. Seems like a new version of Totem/Titan Pokemon. Pokemon Survival and Diving. And maybe the biggest piece of new information from this is a brand new Pokemon engine called Pokemon Engine X is what they're calling. Now, seems to be like a brand new engine built from the ground up. It might just be a modified version of Unreal Engine 5. Once again, we haven't actually seen the game run itself, so it's hard to say at the moment. But I wouldn't be surprised if they did take a more popular engine and then modified it for a more in-house use. Now, Pokemon Legends 2 was originally planned to release in 2024, while Gen 10 was supposed to be in 2025. but of course everything got delayed by a year. Gen 10 is going to be a Switch 2 exclusive, so Legends ZA is the last Switch 1 Pokemon game. If you want to continue playing Pokemon, you are going to have to get a Switch 2 by holiday 2026, and let's hope those console prices don't go up due to the economic situation, because a lot of consoles are going up in price right now, which is horrible. So the region for Wind and Wave Generation 10 is actually based on Southeast Asia, on Indonesia, and not on Greece. So the Greece rumors were fake. Everything we heard about that was fake. It was all made up. The reality is this region is based off of Indonesia, aka Southeast Asia. And we actually have information about the box legendaries. So the Storm legendary, which I guess is the wind one, the Storm package Pokemon, its role is that of an old man. It lives on an island that keeps people away. It possesses the power of the wind to properly guide humans and Pokemon. It accepts only those humans who have correctly raised the seed Pokemon. And then the wave is just an old woman that does the exact same thing. Now, what is the seed Pokemon? Well, apparently the seed Pokemon is going to be a basic Pokemon that we are going to have with us that is essentially the legendary. We're going to be carrying around the legendary Pokemon with us. Now, the new battle mechanic for Pokemon Winds and Wave is going to be Technowaza, which is translated to weather move. So weather is back, which makes a lot of sense. The game is called Wind and Waves. You know, Southeast Asia, Indonesia, you know, you're going to have like a lot of like tsunamis, hurricanes, like all that type of stuff is going to occur. So weather is back. So Gen 3 vibes are really here. It's sort of like a new age Hoenn, which is super interesting to me. And we actually learned a lot about the different characters in Wind and Waves already. So apparently the protagonist is a 13-year-old and lives in the big city. City kid, their mother wins a trip in the lottery and they're taken on a vacation. So this whole game is essentially a vacation. You have a mom. You don't have a dad for some reason. Once again, you don't have a dad. There is a baby, an infant who is there. By the end of the story, they can learn to walk and talk, symbolizing the future, which is really weird. You have a friend who is a rival. They have two versions depending on the gender, so it seems to be the opposite gender, maybe. A hotel chairman of a hotel group that owns many resorts nationwide. He originally sought to create resorts where Pokemon people could coexist with nature, but after a certain incident, his child was killed by a Pokemon. He began to push for aggressive development and came to hate Pokemon. So, seems to be maybe one of the main bad guys of the game. The chairman's child serves as the kind of executive within the organization. Though not stated outright in the game, his older brother is already dead. He's the second son or adopted one. He respects his father, but is naive about the world. And then land development team. So the evil team are people who are trying to ruin the island nations. They're just terraforming the land, and you know, definitely has a lot of like ecological themes to the game in general. And then there is a professor, a nature guide working at the hotel, known as the survival professor. He researches the relationship between weather and Pokemon, studies Pokemon that can become embodiments of weather itself. Although acknowledgeable through books, his real survival skills are inferior to the professor's friend. Now, we posted this image on the YouTube channel about a year ago, and you know, this is apparently a real image from Generation 10. This Luminion is a real image from Pokemon Winds and Waves. And apparently you can explore underwater. You can dive underwater and explore. Once again, big Hoenn vibes from this, you know, but you're actually diving in. It's not like a little cutscene and like, oh, I'm just going to swim on the ocean floor. Seems to be you can just straight up just dive and there will be Pokemon, and it's going to be much more of a realistic experience. Early look at the new Pokemon Wind and Wave graphic engine. And so we got this Dondozo. And apparently this is what the water is going to look like. Obviously, this is very early in development. We don't even know how old this technically is. But this water looks way better than anything I've ever seen in a Pokemon game yet. Like, we have real light reflections. It doesn't just like look like an abyss. These definitely look like new Pokemon models as well. We'll talk about that in a moment. But yeah, this actually looks insane. So in Pokemon Wind and Wave, you get a seed Pokemon. At the start of your adventure, you must raise it to a certain level to be able to enter the island for the main legendary. The island is generated based on how you train the seed Pokemon. The evolution for the seed Pokemon will be generated, including unique patterns for flowers and fractals. So every player will have a different looking seed Pokemon evolution. Not to say the type would be different, but essentially, you know how Spinda has a bunch of different patterns on it, and there's like always a unique Spinda? They're essentially making the seed Pokemon into like sort of a Spinda, but they're making it cooler, is what it sounds like to me. The seed Pokemon will revert to its default form when transferring it to future games or champions. It'll only be procedurally generated inside a Wind and Wave. Also, the seed Pokemon is not the starter. There still are traditional starters, 3-starter Pokemon. We don't have any information about the starters, but this is more like a legendary Pokemon that is connected to the main story that you just carry with you. In Pokemon Wind and Wave, the player will be able to challenge the final boss right away after getting the ability to transverse the sea, and will be able to defeat it and see the credits. However, it'll be a lot more difficult. So this is a very Breath of the Wild moment. It's like, hey, I can go beat Ganondorf immediately. I can fly off the plateau and just get there and speedrun the whole entire game if you're just really good at the game. Seems to be you could potentially do that in Wind and Wave. I do feel like this is something that I just don't know how that's going to work, especially we don't even know what the battle system is. I mean, is the battle system even turn-based at this point? Like, we'll just have to wait and see. I feel like this is definitely something that just won't make it in the final cut, though. So in Pokemon Wind and Wave, the gyms and the Titan Lord Pokemon are mixed together. There are a total of 18 challenges, one for each type. They'll be inspired by the Sustainable Development Goals. Clearing all the 18 challenges allow you to challenge the champion. So this is really cool. It seems like 18 types, 18 gyms / Titans. I really like that. They did it in Scarlet and Violet, and I do think that's one of the better features. So I'm glad they're carrying that over through Pokemon Gaia Gen 10 here. And according to Game Freak, they intend to mix open world plus MMO with Generation 10. And they actually have a thought process how the Legends series and the main series works. So the Legends series is targeted at gamers, digging deeper into action, digging deeper into the worldview and history of actual Pokemon. So the hardcore Pokemon fans. While the main series is super wide, super broad, including beginners and fans. So which makes a lot of sense because there's just not as many people who play the Legends games versus like something like a Scarlet and Violet at the end of the day. So Pokemon Wind and Wave is planned to have MMO features with the codename Naya. As the islands are generated for players, the idea is that players will be able to upload their islands they discover to servers and then play with other people. This sounds crazy to me. So like it really just sounds like this is a massive multiplayer game. Sort of definitely the MMO features for sure. But I just don't know how this is going to work in the sense of Pokemon, especially because Game Freak doesn't have the experience doing something like this. I feel like this is something that will get cut at the end of the day. Now, we actually have some slide decks that it features screenshots from Pokemon Gaia. And you can see like a big, robust town. We get like a green Lucario. We get like, I guess, looks like the generated island, some volcanoes smoke in there too. And then we have like these lush and dense jungles of a couple Pokemon. We see a Charmander, see a Snorlax here. It seems to be like a living, breathing jungle that we actually need to survive in. I don't know if there's gonna be any survival elements to it, but there is a lot of talk about survival. And essentially, you know, the theme of the game is not destroying nature, taking care of nature, and, you know, like living with Pokemon and respecting Pokemon. We have another in-game screen, or at least of the demo. We got a Ghastly here. Notice how we have life bars all over the Pokemon, which is actually really interesting to see. Life bars, very similar to Legends ZA, you do get life bars over the Pokemon too. So seems to be this is a direction the series is going to, and some of the Legends features are bleeding into the actual other Pokemon stuff. And then we get some more island exploring action here. And yeah, we get, it seems like a battle system. Sort of looks like Scarlet and Violet to me as well over here on the bottom right, but nothing too crazy. I mean, once again, we still don't know if this is a turn-based game or not. But the big thing is we have new Pokemon models across the board. Pikachu is getting an updated model, and it's not just Pikachu. It seems to be every single Pokemon. So the Pikachu on the left is the Pikachu we know from Scarlet and Violet. The Pikachu on the right is much more rounder, seems to be cuter, honestly, more kawaii, and that is the Generation 10 Pikachu. Charizard is also getting a new model, and Charizard looks way more menacing than his typical model as well. And then we got, and this just dropped, we got a new model for Luminion and also Machamp. So one, we got confirmation Pikachu's in the game, Charizard's in the game, Luminion's in the game, and Machamp is in the game for Generation 10. If you're fans of those Pokemon, well, you got a big W right there. Now, moving on to Pokemon Legends 3. Pokemon Legends 3 is taking place in Galar. It is set 1,000 years in the past, and you must create the first Gigantamax Pokeball. Now, this is from a slide deck, and there is some very interesting stuff. So it is using assets from Pokemon Legends Arceus to just test some of the features. But essentially, you can see on the screen here that they're using like this like archaic Pokeball to try to capture like this Wobbuffet, something about baiting out a Snorlax with food, something you did in Legends Arceus. But then you're also trying to make this Gigantamax soup, and it's really hard to see here, but if you zoom in a little bit, you can see that there is a brand new regional Slowking, and it's like a chef Slowking, which is super interesting. And yeah, it seems to be a Pokemon that may not ever exist again, but maybe it will. I mean, Legends is happening. Legends Galar is happening. We'll see if it makes it past the concept. But this is what it looks like. It seems to be maybe it is wearing a Milcery, and maybe it is a fusion. Milcery bites the Slowpoke, and it becomes a chef. That could be it. That's really cool. Thanks for the fan art, Pablo Cuckoo. And then we get boss fights. We have some massive Gigantamax fights we are going to be doing in Legends Galar, and this looks absolutely insane. Just fighting G-Max Pokemon like this Colossal. The scale and the size of it is going to be crazy. I just wonder how these fights are going to be like. Hopefully they're more interesting than like the Titan battles that were held in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. And apparently you can bring a lot of Pokemon with you in like some sort of like raid action. So not only are going to have one Pokemon, but you can bring a bunch with you as well. So I don't know how this game's going to go. This is going to be, like a 2027, 2028 game. So a long time before this game releases, but it looks absolutely insane. And we got a little bit more concept art going on here. A little bit closer look of a seems to be like a Pokeball on the left, like an archaic one. Looks like we're like Carcoal's mad at us. Maybe we're using some of this coal to craft something up. But it says 1,000 years ago. So this is even older than Pokemon Legends Arceus, because I think Pokemon Legends Arceus was like 150 or 200 years ago. 1,000 years ago, this is like the cavemen stuff. This is Stone Age in the Pokemon universe. So this is crazy looking in general. And we got even more screenshots of what it looks like. It seems to be maybe even a new engine being used here, because this just looks utterly crazy. But once again, they show off Charizard, Rookidee. We got Golem. Once again, it's a Galar game, so expect all the Galar Pokemon to be in Pokemon Legends Galar. Now, we have another new Pokemon game, and it's called Pokemon Project Seed. Pokemon Project Seed actually sounds like my personal dream game for Pokemon. It's not only the dream multi-region Pokemon game that people have always asked for, it also appears to be an MMO. Seed is prototyping project for a next-generation online game playable by multiple people, set in a region that connects Hoenn and Sinnoh. So it's connecting Johto, Kanto, Hoenn, and Sinnoh, and apparently Kitakami are all going to be linked together on one big game. It's going to be a Pokemon MMO, an official MMO. You don't have to play that indie game anymore. So this is pretty freaking sick. We don't know too much about the game, but that is a great. I like this. Might be the Pokemon game to end all Pokemon games for me. And then we also learned that Generation 11 is coming in 2030. That is a long time from now. I mean, that is 5 years from recording this video, 4 years from the Generation 10. It seems like the gaps between gens have now grown from 3 years to 4 years officially. So, but honestly, I'm fine with that, because they filled up the timeline from 2025 to 2030 with a bunch of other side Pokemon games that sound way more interesting than they've ever had before. Now, there is a couple of other pieces of information. What happened to Black and White? Are we getting Pokemon Black and White remakes? Well, remakes made for Black and White onward should have a lot more love and care put into them. I hope that they become good games that will allow people to enjoy different eras from the Legend series. Note that currently Game Freak has no Unova remake in development. This is just them mentioning that when they eventually do it, it will be a full remake. So essentially, it seems to be no Unova remakes in the timeline at all. Nothing in production. Might not even be a Switch 2 game. Probably just a Switch 3 game or whatever the new Nintendo console is then. So it's going to take a while. Now, Pokemon Legends ZA is coming out this week, but originally it was actually supposed to be Pokemon Legends Ho-Oh and Lugia. There were supposed to be two versions of the game, and it was supposed to release in 2024, marking the 25th anniversary of Pokemon Gold and Silver. And it was supposed to be based on a historical episode set in the past of Gold and Silver called Pokemon Tales of Then and Now. Set in a time before Pokemon trainers existed, a story about the origin of trainers. The protagonist, who has fallen through time, commands Pokemon and revives 3 Pokemon. Note, the burned tower, said to have been destroyed by fire 150 years ago. In the past, it was a 9-story tower, identical to the Bell Tower. So we almost had a Legends Johto, and I'm a little bit upset that we don't have this game and Legends ZA, because Legends ZA is a really cool game, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, RAP, a cool Gen 2 game we could have had. I'm a little bit upset about that, but it is what it is. And we actually have a little bit of concept of what it was going to look like. I mean, it's just, it's your standard, feudal Japan, and even before that, Japan looking time period. And we actually got some Scarlet and Violet information. So the DLC was actually supposed to be about Kalos and about Alola. But unfortunately, we didn't get either Alolan or Kalos DLC, and we just got what we got, which is a little bit disappointing. We do get a couple of pieces of concept art here for the Team Star members. I'm not going to lie, I do think the concept art for Team Star is a lot better than what we eventually got. Like, that Buffon's amazing. I love the, this Mad Max look of all these different dudes. This Welmer, car with the freaking barrel thing is amazing looking. I love it. The Team Star Fairy one with the Togekiss making you fly, that looks absolutely phenomenal as well too. And Game Freak was originally supposed to have a Pokewalker app for Pokemon Sword and Shield. You connected your phone to the game and could take your Pokemon with you and play mini games. You could even catch Pokemon in the Pokewalker app and move them to the main game. So another cut piece of concept there in general, but man, oh man, we learned a lot, and the thing is, we are still learning more. But there we have it, guys. That is the next 5 years of Pokemon. We got a lot to look forward to. We got Legends ZA this week, Legends ZA DLC in a couple months, Gen 10 end of next year. The following year, we got Gen 10 DLC, and then maybe even the same year as a DLC, we get Legends Galar, and then, after that, we get the MMO, and then Generation 11 in 2030. So let me know in the comment section below what you are most excited about from these multiple Pokemon games. I personally think the online MMO game, Codename Seed, has me the most hype, but I really do like how Legends Galar looks too. Anyways, guys, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. Catch you guys next time. Peace out and have a great one.